because I want government services to be efficient. Like nowadays, you see a place catches fire, like a whole neighborhood inashika moto. No firefighters, no nothing. People are coming out to save themselves against fires on their own. So, like you apply for a government document, maybe an ID, unangoja for attacking one another, maybe gatekeeping the movement. It's for Gen Zs alone, like attacking old people that they're not supposed to be in government. I feel like we are also becoming a problem. Actually, that's the problem we're fighting against. And I'm not fighting to chase away Ruto and replace him with some other intolerant guys, whether they are young or personally, Mimi wouldn't even want to run for any political office. But I don't mind whoever is in office, regardless of age, tribe, akuwe nani, bora tu anafanya what dictates of the constitution. I'm good with it. So those wars about, I didn't personally join the concerned about the current state of governance, as I've made it known. So you've been in political leadership for the longest time possible. So I'm reaching out to seek your valuable insights. How did we get here? How did we get this bad in like governing our country? So please share your experience and maybe perspective about how Kenya reached this point, whereby we have a whole population that is disenfranchised. So yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Jmo. I am aligned with what you've said there, that let us not become what we are fighting. It's very easy to turn into, if you fight a monster, make sure you don't become a monster. Let us hold to the values that we began with and the principles that we are sticking to: good governance, transparency, accountability for a better Kenya. Kenya, are you there?
Yes, niko hapa.
Mike ni yako, karibu.
Okay, thank you so much. So, thank you so much, the host and listeners and senior counsel. So, for me, I got some few questions to ask a senior counsel. First question is, do you believe politicians are shortchanging Kenyans? And also, do you believe Kibaki regime brought back tribalism? If you see from 2002 and 2007 on the whole incident that happened. And the whole incident on 207 showed that politicians are bigger than Kenya. That's why the swearing in, that's why all the infighting. You guys didn't consider Kenyans, right? Because I bet you guys saw what was coming. Right? But at that moment, I'm talking about both sides, not PNU and ODM. I'm talking about politicians, both sides. So you guys, you saw how many Kenyans died, lost property, but you could just take a minute and just say Kenya is bigger than every politician on both sides, right? So my other question: why do politicians always change their mind when they're in government and when they're out of government? When they're out of government, they talk so good, oh, I'll do this and do this, all that stuff. But when they get in government, right, they always come up with some stuff that's crazy. And this stuff that they always say, oh, This president is good, but people around him. No, the buck stops with the president. We cannot live like that. There's no way politicians can have their sons, their daughters themselves, good health care and all that stuff, but the rest of the Kenyans cannot even afford a meal. We are changing Kenya, clean slate, new government, right? All the old guys, we value you, but it's time kuketi kwa bench, you see how we're going to run the country. We need our country back. Na kama, do you also believe that kama umeiba, regardless of which era, which regime, do you think that you should return back the money? Because those are the same wealth, ill-gotten wealth that cannot be get, Kenyans cannot get. Haiwezi kakuwa the government of Kenya is a milking cash for politicians. I mean, I'm so pissed off. I'm so passionate about this country because najua we can do a lot of stuff. But ni wizi regime, wizi politician waizi na ukabila, we need to stop. We need to stop. Na hii 99 is about getting our country back, and we need good governance from us. You remember, our new on Peter. No, you guys had your turn. Just sit back on the bench. Come on, to advise. I think it's a time for new blood. Thank you.
Let's take the real one, then I'll yield the microphone back to Mr. Karua, Senior Counsel. Real Joe. Real Joe, can you hear me? Real Joe unavailable. June 25th. Jerry?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Awesome. So thanks, everyone. I think for me, first and foremost is to just condole with all of the families that have lost loved ones during this movement, people who've been injured, and to really applaud the courage of people who have taken action directly or indirectly to support this like really, really important moment we are in as a country. Even as I'm listening in, I think there are three things that I have been advocating for in every space that I have been that I just want to share with this group here. First of all, we need to understand that as young people, we are fighting for a cause that is attempting to reverse problems that are systemic and have been endemic in this country for years. So we are not just fighting to win, to have this government go, but it's also about starting to build this country again on the right foundations. When I think about Mau Mau and what it took for them to get there, imagine at the time of celebration, a lot of those young people who had fought did not actually take up positions of leadership. And it's true that they had the ability and the courage to fight, but it was also very true that they did not have the knowledge and the ability to be able to lead. So for me, it's a challenge to all of us. We are thinking about this not just in relation to what we want to achieve, but what it will take for us to start rebuilding this country afresh. And the challenge is to understand, read. I want to challenge everyone. If you've never read the Constitution is less than 200 pages. It's not just for lawyers. The Constitution is for everyone. In fact, the Constitution says that we're supposed to defend the Constitution. You can't defend, respect, and uphold something you don't know. So pick up the Constitution. It's available online. It's free. Read, even if you don't read the whole document, read chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and chapter 6 of the Constitution. It's a very powerful document. And as us as young people understanding what it means for us is going to be the first step in us guys being able to build this country in the way that we hope and desire it will go. Number 2, tujiangalie. I think when I was thinking about the vetting process as it was happening over the weekend, and somebody pointed it out, how can a billionaire look for a job? Like, what is a billionaire doing looking for a job? But can you imagine that the same amount of greed that it takes for someone with a lot of money to still want to accumulate more, which is part of the problem we're seeing in this country? It's the same amount of greed that it takes for you to pay to skip a line so that you get an advantage over somebody else. Somebody else could not have afforded to wait in line. You have paid, umepeana hongo so that you skip the line. Umesimamishwa na polisi, kuna shida na there's just something that is wrong. Perhaps you not even need insurance. You pay money so that the system does not apply to you. Imagine this is of greed. So let us also look at ourselves in the way that corruption is endemic in every aspect of our lives and start change there. So for you, the next time someone is asking for a bribe, call them out. Not because we are all saints, or some of us are saints and others aren't, but this problem permeates not just in political spaces, it permeates in every aspect of our lives. So tujiangalie. I really like that line, that song that says, yani ile mkono inapeana hongo imevaa colors a flag. So let us respect and demand, in this movement, let us respect and demand something that we're also upholding in our everyday lives. Number 3 for me, it is to really upload artists and people who have been talking and educating. Education is so powerful. Like our wisdom for example, the director of that show is encouraging free movie nights. Let's see a lot of innovation.
Perfect. Chege. Chege Wamburu, can you hear me? Rabi, mbona kama Chege nakusikia?
Simpati mimi. Can't hear.
Haya. Jeff, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the space. I think it's 1 minute to midday. I want to categorically maybe refocus us into the main thing. I think Nane should be the main thing, and I think we have only 2 days now to go. So I think let's not be sidetracked to other things. And the fact that our group, or I mean this movement, is tribeless. We shouldn't even be talking about tribe at this moment. We may have personal grievances, but I think bringing them into the space at this moment, it won't help a lot. I have a question to senior counsel, and I think I have followed her for a very long time. I think I know her standing in terms of personality and judgment. Do you think that the political class as currently constituted has the solutions for Kenya? That's number one. Number two, why are you running? Why would you run again? Because you did that, I think, in 2013. So what exactly is the motivation that moves the political class to, kind of try and want these political positions and power? I think I don't have much today, but I want us to really refocus on, let's not rant. Yeah, kila mtu amekasirika because Kenya is not working. And the fact that the government as currently is constituted is rubbing itself on our face, like defiantly. Tumesema tu tunataka vitu kidogo atu. Like, we are not complicated. I mean, we are simply saying we want constitutionalism. We want things to work. And they are not working. So, thank you. Thank you, Afrocentric.
Thank you, Jeff, for your questions. I think I'll give the microphone to Martha Karua right now to answer those questions.
Thank you. I'll begin with the was it Toria or Rabbi Toria? You started by saying Ruto won. I don't believe that, but since the court ruled in his favor, we are leaving his regime. But I would want to tell you that I have not just been sitting waiting for Gen Z. If you watched last year, 2023, Azimio was on the road protesting the rising cost of living, among other things, and also asking for the servers to be opened. But the main issue, which even made the population support us, was the cost of living. When we were invited to the talks, I reluctantly was part of that, not as a negotiator because it's Kalonzo who went, but we were part of it and we gave them a package that cost of living was going to be the deal breaker. After almost 1 year, more than 8 months of negotiations in December, they came minus the cost of living. And we in NARC Kenya disassociated ourselves with NADCO and rejected the report publicly. I remember the leader of DAPK, Wamalwa, also refused to sign the report. So since then, we've sort of been alienated from Azimio up to the time now we have withdrawn. Although the time of notice is not over, we are no longer part of Azimio. But I wanted you to know that, yes, we have not been quiet. And whether in a coalition or just as myself or with the NARC Kenya party, we have never been quiet in the face of injustices. You asked about water cannons. We too were visited with colored water cannons. They attempted to shoot, and if you recall or may not know, Raila's car, which was leading the entourage, was shot no less than 11 times. We also suffered just like you did, and a lot of people, over 50 people, were killed in last year's demonstrations. So it is not that we have been sitting waiting for the Gen Z. Over the years, not just last year, we've done what we can. And you can go back and find that I've never been a citizen without a voice. In and out of office, I've used my agency where I can. JMO, before I go to JMO, the airport leasing to Adani or concessionaire, Kenyans have a voice. Public participation is in the constitution. And the genesis of these Gen Z protests is the government Ruto making public participation a circus or just something cosmetic. The public, through the Gen Z, want to be heard. They want their concerns acted upon. So JKIA is no different. They will have to listen to Kenyans. We cannot wait idle to see a public asset wasted. So far, nobody is telling us for what benefit we are leasing this most priceless public asset. Leasing out an airport, both the things to do with aeronauticals and the non-aeronauticals is like leasing your front door to your neighbor, meaning that people can enter and leave without you knowing. So we are entitled to public participation, and this part of the accountability Kenyans are asking for. Jmo, thank you for the no gatekeeping comment. The state of governance, that is why the call for transparency and accountability. It is lack of enforcement. Kibaki's first government, even before the constitution was passed, was fairly transparent until Anglo leasing, carried over from the Moi era, reared its ugly head and part of the government fell to corruption. The second government, the coalition government, both sides accepted to live with corruption. And that is why, among other reasons, the record of human rights deteriorated. And that's why I personally chose to resign, leave the benefits, and become a backbencher. So enforcement is what gets people to remain on the narrow path, because where there is enforcement, it is very costly to the individual to veer out of line. But here we don't punish corruption, we celebrate it. Even as voters, we are electing the most corrupt and leaving people who have a better record. So this is a conversation we need to have. And the accountability this movement is asking, it's also about enforcing the rule of law. Living by the rule of law means enforcement, not making vetting a circus, and truly appointing only individuals who qualify under Section 6 of the Constitution. Mkenya, you are asking whether politicians have shortchanged Kenyans. And this is all politicians. Yes, indeed, we have collectively shortchanged Kenyans. Look at even this very last act of some in Azimio joining government. A government that has violated people's human rights, forget even the economic war they have waged against us. A government that has in the immediate wantonly killed its own citizens, maimed and injured, without laying groundwork, even asking for apologies, compensation, cessation of that violence upon Kenyans, etc., etc. Even the NADCO report was a short change. Why would we accept a report that has no cost of living element? That is why Ruto was confident to again overtax Kenyans in the 2024 finance bill. If we had collectively refused NADCO, I doubt that they would have had that courage to go ahead and treat Kenyans dirty. And if they had, then we would have had a groundswell on the side of resisting oppression. But when some of us go to bed with the oppressor, then we are making the oppressor more stronger than the side of resistance. So it makes the push for accountability a little more harder, but not impossible. Mkenya, I'm still answering Mukenya. Did we see what was coming before 2007? Yes. If you remember, those who were of age and can remember, there was a long campaign after the referendum, the failed 2005 referendum. An almost 1.5 years campaign, whipping emotions. And the call was 41 tribes against one. It was simply coded 41 against one. That time, we had 42 communities. Now 2 have been added. We have 44. And that is not to say that those of us who were on the government side, because this was an ODM call, that we were saints. Also, the intolerance of sacking everybody because they refused the referendum. That was also intolerance on part of the president's side. So we built up the tension and many other things I cannot unpackage that happened in government leading to the division in the referendum, like refusing to take our views on board in the WACO draft. So I cannot say that any one side bears all the responsibility. Both PNU and ODM bear the responsibility of what happened. We need to galvanize. You asked whether I have ever benefited from tribalism. Absolutely not. I believe the positions I was given is my input as a politician. But if you're asking whether we have ever galvanized the community, yes. In the tribal clashes during the Moi era, where there was killings in the Rift Valley of people, especially from Mount Kenya and people seen as outsiders, we joined together in parliament to give strength to those in the Rift Valley to encourage them to fight back. And the clashes finished. Those are the ones in 1998 that brought death especially in Nakuru area and also in Olmoran, in Laikipia and Supiri. If you're asking whether we have galvanized the community, yes, but for positive causes that affect everyone else. Even our recent meeting at Limuru was to get our community, the Mount Kenya people, out of mental slavery. They were like under lock and key, almost physically and mentally. I am glad that this time round they joined other Kenyans and that work was done. But whether I have ever advocated for only my people as opposed to others, I will say no. The 2 times I served as minister for water and minister for justice, and in all my utterances, you can check that and see that I am a Kenyan to the core. The other question, June 25, we too condole the bereaved and really feel for those who are injured, for those who are missing, and for those visited upon with atrocities. We need to go back to the reset button and start afresh as Kenyans. And that's why I support the Gen Z movement. Can billionaires serve? I think it's not about the wealth you have. It's whether your wealth is honestly accumulated. A majority of wealthy people in Kenya, especially with a political background, are people who have accumulated their wealth in questionable circumstances and of questionable characters. And that gives rise to people thinking wealthy people cannot serve. I have seen very few wealthy people, wealthy in the sense of real wealthy, who are politicians and who are honest. I agree with you that our artists are doing a great job. I love especially the Utawala by Juliani. It speaks to me. And Eric Wainaina's Nchi ya Kitu Kidogo. I too watched Tef Boya, which is juxtaposing our past history, the assassination of Boya, and the present day, while our young have been murdered for political reasons, and also calling for accountability. Jeff, I agree entirely. Our focus must remain on nane, on the task at hand of bringing accountability, bringing transparency to our country. Does the political class have a solution? Not alone. If we had a solution, everything would have been okay last year after the Azimio demonstrations. We would have been able to negotiate something meaningful for Kenya at NADCO. This shows that this time, where matters stand, we must not look upon the political class entirely, I belonging to it. We must look at Kenyans of goodwill joined together to bring the solutions together. Nobody has a monopoly of wisdom. And I think I have said this time and again on my Twitter handle. Even when Raila said that they had spoken and there was going to be dialogue, I cautioned on my Twitter timeline that you should be wary of us, the political class, because we are easy to be co-opted. We are easy to be compromised. And it has come to be true. Let us look at Kenyans together doing what they must do for themselves and relying on our collective wisdom, not on that of a select few who might even have the lack of it. You asked why I ran. The same thing that made me run as a youth in 1992, some of the listeners may not have been born, was that I believed I had something to offer. I could see there was a gap in leadership, something needed to be done, and I stepped forward. I have been in leadership since then, both elected and voluntary like now, and I still feel that I have something to offer to my country, and that's why I would run again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The movement has always said it is tribeless, leaderless, partyless. What were your thoughts when you first heard that we were leaderless and we were able to mobilize and get the gains that we have gotten so far in terms of the bill being rejected, and the pressure and the momentum is still building, but we are still a leaderless movement? What are your thoughts on that specific topic? We are leaderless.
I was actually very excited and I'm still very excited. The way the movement has been able to mobilize so extensively, more than anybody else has ever done in this country, and had an impact worldwide, not just in Africa. This movement is being acknowledged everywhere. And after various spaces and hearing experiences from Zimbabwe and other countries, I realized that the one strong thing the movement has going for itself is because it's leaderless, tribeless, and did you say faceless? Because what is happening, if you had an acknowledged leader, that leader would either have been compromised, and if they can't be compromised, abducted, or whatever else would have happened to them, the system would be focusing on them. You are focusing on issues. You've never had a delegation going to present your issues, but we have heard you loud and clear. We know what the movement stands for. Using the social media, Ruto was able to hear you and withdraw the finance bill. Initially, they were tone deaf, but they withdrew the finance bill. Although that is a lie because he's still implementing some of the things in it. He was able to sack almost all his cabinet. You did not have any memorandum presented to him. This is the strength of the movement. Focus on issues, not on personalities. Being unable to know who is the leader and therefore nobody to compromise. Keep at that until this job is over and then pick the leaders. And I keep on telling the police and the army whenever I can that the constitution is clear. via Article 1. People can exercise their sovereignty directly, and this is precisely what you're doing. We were saying it last year during Azimio protests, but we have never experienced people of Kenya acting under Article 1, exercising sovereignty directly. We have seen it under Gen Z. This is truly phenomenal. It is your strength. Let's keep it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to read one of the comments I'm seeing here. I wonder how people always celebrate Kibaki's presidency so much. He's always the best president, yet castigate Martha for protecting his vote. Can't you see this narrative is a cycle by Martha's competitors in 2013 to exonerate themselves from 207 for votes? Alas, the public bought the propaganda. Something to think about. Rabia, mic ni yako.
Shukran sana na shukran Mama Martha kwa vile umejitolea hata huku kuongea nasi na kujumuika nasi katika huu mradi wa 88. Ningependa kumpa mic kwa Chege, naona umeinua mkono, alafu kisha kama wapenda kuongea unaweza inua mkono uchaguliwe. Chege.
Thank you so much, Rabia. Thank you, Afrocentric, Psychosins, for keeping us here. I've always been, and also, of course, Senior Counsel Martha Karua, thank you very much for coming. I was going to say, I've always wondered since we started this, joining these spaces, Afro, whether having politicians and hosting politicians is the right thing. But after listening to Tribeless, I am now 100% sold that it is extremely important that they come here and they listen to the voice of the people, because we've been hearing the cries. Senior Counsel, I beg to differ on a number of things. First of all, I am very happy that you got to hear that emotional presentation by Tribeless. And I just pray that you can do some personal reflection when you are witness to the atrocities in Kiambaa and did nothing when you were Minister for Justice. It is not enough. I want to tell you, it is not enough that you resigned from that government. You are still Senior Counsel. Do not come here and speak to us as if you are one of us. We are not advocates of the High Court of Kenya. We are not Senior Counsels, but you are. As far as I am concerned, if you want to inject yourself in this movement, we need to see you physically marching with these people, because you know very well, if you're marching, they will not shoot. If you're there with the Gen Zs, the atrocities that we are witnessing will not happen. You cannot sit quiet and tweet when bodies are being discovered at Pity Mortuary. I am sorry, but as far as we are concerned, and as far as we have seen, you have been there. We were so proud of you when you walked out on Moi. You know, you've been saying some of them were not born. Yes, some of them were not born, but some of us were. We were proud of you when you walked out on Moi. We were proud of you when you did resign. However, what then happened? As far as we are concerned, it was just political posturing. Later on, you came back and became Raila's running mate. You cannot tell us that you have not benefited. Of course you have benefited. And we keep hearing the talking down on this movement. We keep hearing the infantilization that their children, my grandchildren. Do not call them your grandchildren. These are adults. Accord them the respect and the honor of the achievements that they have had, because none of you, and probably even us, my generation, I am Generation X, we did not achieve even an iota of what this generation has been able to achieve. So if at least you do want to be associated and respected by this movement, Let us see your actions. Let us hear your voice. Do not just tweet, add Ruto must go, because that is what has led this movement to have the success that it has had. Put pressure on the international community. You have been a minister in the government. Let us see you exposing some of the things that you know. Let us see you be part of that push to get this entire regime and all the evils out. That is what we require from you. That is what we expect from you. And please, 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 step back as some of us are doing and allow the Gen Zs to stand. Do not stand. Sacrifice yourself, sacrifice your leadership to nurture new leadership that is uncorrupted. And thank you for applauding the leaderlessness, because that is one thing I've been saying. And let us amplify the voice of the Gen Z. I literally just picked the mic because of that. Those who know us here, we've been fighting to keep the fire going. Nane Senior Council, I hope we will be seeing you and not just listening to rhetoric. Thank you, Afro.
So shukran sana kwa hiyo submission Chege. Labda Martha ungependa kumjibu?
Yes. And I would begin by asking him, why do you want to see me in the demonstrations and you do not want me to stand? You don't want to offer me to offer myself for leadership. It is not. Let me just say this. It is not correct for any one person to arrogate to themselves the right to tell another Kenyan, irrespective of age or circumstance, that you cannot participate in this one. If it's a constitutional right, let me be guided by my conscience, not by your caution. And I want to tell you, Tribeless, that you cannot say that as a minister, during the burning of Kiambaa, I did nothing. A minister of justice does not control police. I cannot tell you everything I did, but in places I made calls. You remember those days, it's provincial commissioners who were in charge of the security in the provinces. I made calls to the Rift Valley provincial commissioner, who is now a politician, and I will not name him. I tried where I could when I found that my colleagues were failing to get the police to act. And if you remember that time, the police were divided. So there are some who are watching atrocities doing nothing. But there is nothing more that could be done that I didn't do. And I didn't control the police. So that just like you, I learned of some atrocities that were committed after they were done. But maybe my face was seen more because I was speaking and others were not speaking. I don't need to defend myself. You can go back to history. When I have been in demonstrations since I was youthful in the university, before even coming out, and thereafter as an opposition politician, and during the fight for multi-party, and also fighting for Section 2A to be repealed. So I can very well sit here and tell you that I've done my bit. Let the young people of this time also do their bit, because every generation has their work cut out. When I say these are my children and grandchildren, I'm not speaking down to them. For goodness sake, I'm 66. A person of 30 and even 40 is young enough to be my child. A person of 20 is my grandchild. If I was merely calling them that and not lauding what they are doing, not appreciating the milestone, you could say I'm talking down to them. I definitely have not talked down to the Gen Zs and the millennials. I have acknowledged them anytime that I could, on my timeline and everywhere. And I have actually said we sit back. And why so far we have not come out? The Ruto regime was looking for somebody to blame. And if you remember, the Gen Zs also did not want politicians there. They were looking for who is leading the protest. Look at a position. If we had come out, they would have been calling it yet another Azimio demonstration. But I did say earlier that it has gotten to a point where we need a real groundswell and where everybody needs to come out and support. I will not tell you what I'll do, but I do think that the time has come for everybody. But let's not try to prescribe. You cannot prescribe. You can persuade me and I can persuade you, but you cannot prescribe to me. You build a movement through persuasion, not through prescription. Thank you.
Shukran sana. Chege wasikia Mama Martha ni Iron Lady. Kwa hivyo
Namkia, but she asked me to answer a question, and I'd like to reply. Senior Counsel, I'm not prescribing for sure, because at the end of the day, your rights are your rights. However, two things that I want to point out to you. Why do I want you to go to the streets, and I do not want you, and yet I don't want you to offer yourself? The reason why I want you to go to the streets is because these children and grandchildren of yours, as you're calling them, when you are there, when, for example, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya would march with them, you know very well they will not shoot. It is a powerful, powerful statement. Yes, you did your part, and I acknowledge that. I acknowledge your right to choose to let them lead, and that is fine. Why not offer yourself? Why I feel you should not offer yourself is because in 2007 we saw you swearing in Kibaki. Then you became the minister. You resigned, then you became the running mate. So your moves for us are suspect, and therefore we are questioning you. We are putting you to task to tell us whether this rejection of Azimio is yet another ploy, because that is what you do as politicians, and we are judging you by your actions and your previous actions. That is the reason why I'm saying, in fact, it is a submission that can you consider at your age taking a step back, because our generation was lied to that we are the leaders of tomorrow, and yet our tomorrow was taken away from us. We have been saying very loud and clear to the Gen Zs, you are the leaders of today, and we are going to do our best to make sure that your future is not stolen from you. Can you join us? Thank you.
Do you want me to say something or we leave it there?
Kama ungependa kuongea unaweza kuifupisha labda.
Ni kusema
we can always also leave it there. But the future will judge. There is a future after 9/9.
Okay, we'll leave it.
Okay, shukran sana Chege. Samahani, tutaenda labda kwa aitwa Josephine kwa the other guy, alafu kisha tutachukua round nyingine, alafu ikiwezekana labda fupisha submission yako ili tupate watu wengi watoe donge lao. Shukran. Josephine.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, endelea.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Afro Cedric, thank you for giving us this opportunity to continue hearing our issues and grievances, and also our plan for Nane. And the one thing I want to say is that we need to be very focused and very determined on what we want and what we think we are doing. Right now, I've been listening for the last almost 2 hours plus, and the people are really, it's like they are putting the senior council to grill them on behalf of the other leaders who have been in place, which to me, I find it unfair. And like we need everybody right now, we join hands and remain focused. Remember, amongst us in these spaces, there are people who have just been bought. to come here and continue diverting our attention so that we get divided. That's what I was just trying to pick amongst ourselves, because I don't want to understand why, when we are supposed to be saying anyone who is not against us is for us. Let's come together. We are tribeless. We do not have anything to advocate for. We are leaderless. We are coming there. Everybody comes and stands on their space. Whether he is a senior politician, whether he is a non-politician, whether he is a Christian, whether he is a non-believer, everybody stands in their position. And I think that's why we said that it's no longer a generation Z, but all generations incorporated. And when we say all generations incorporated, that means we are incorporating everybody who is governed by the Kenyan constitution, regardless of their age, regardless of their faith, regardless of anything that we can come up with. It's either you are in the side of the government, which is actually vandalizing us and killing us, or you are in the side of the rest of the Kenyans, the 50 million Kenyans, who are saying we do not need these governors. We do not need Ruto in office. I think the key thing which is supposed to drive us as citizens is that anybody who is for us, because people are pretending to be for us, coming here to champion things which are not necessary, to divert our attention, and instead of pulling our strengths together and strengthening what we have, they are championing things which are unnecessary. I think if we need a podium to grill Mother Karua and any other leader, any other political leader, we need to plan that in the future. But right now, guys, places, how can we tuck in the armed forces, the disciplined forces, to come and join us so that they are in the forefront to lead when due time comes. Right now, we are fighting for something that we do not have it yet. Bado hatujatoa Ruto kwa ofisi. If a politician who wants to get the seat, but right now, resources and all our minds together on what we can do on Nane so that down, just remove them from the mic, because we need to remain focused. Kuna watu wamenunuliwa hapa. We can hear them. Kuja kutundivert so that we don't discuss anything constructive. Can we concentrate on what we need? Nane. The issue from now to kesho, it should be nane. Hear them when they start conversing. Kindly, let's think about that and let's remain focused. Thank you so much.
Karibu.
After the 2008 elections, which is what we expect from good leaders. But that apparently was not enough for Kenyans. So and almost or all of them laughed and said, no, that one she is not. So seriously, guys, are we going to become like our parents? It's a different generation. It's a different generation. What is eating Kenya is corruption. And everybody who was read about Mother Karua or followed her through history, anajua she has never been corrupt. Okay? She has never been accused by anybody, hata kwa political rallies, of corruption. Hata rumors. You see? Hata rumors. These politicians who bash each other kwa political rallies and all, none of them has ever said, Mother Karua stole this, Mother Karua stole that. Yet he has called out everybody boldly. Ameita watu, amesema huyu ni mwizi, huyu ni mwizi, huyu ni mwizi. But the system has poisoned our mind to think that she is an enemy for no apparent reason. She has the passion to bring about a better Kenya, and maybe that's her life's purpose. Should she exit this world knowing well she has never accomplished her purpose? Would you be okay to do the same? Would you fight since 1992, since the 1980s in university for a better Kenya? And then somebody comes and tells you, we don't want you because now you are 66 years old. If that was your life's purpose, if that is what you think you are meant to do, would you be okay if somebody told you, now you are 66 years old, it's not okay for you to pursue? So what if she is to live for another 30 years? What if she is to live for another 30 years, and then that's 96 years and she has not accomplished whatever she wants to do? She lives in another country with corrupt people. What she has been fighting her whole life. Anakuwa sasa ataishi for another 30 years watching the same thing because some guy thinks she should exit the stage. I think the system has turned us against activists in a very, very, very bad way. Okay? We need people like Mother Karua and Omtata and this other Senator Onyonka and maybe Boniface Mwangi in one pot. We need people to hold these big offices until we come of age. Those people cannot all be corrupt. Everybody likes one or the other. Maybe one of them is corrupt, but they cannot all be corrupt, and you know that. Okay? We also cannot give power to persons we meet on Twitter. Wamekuwa wakinunuliwa huko. Their track record on integrity we do not know. We know we can trace the track record on integrity for persons like Mother Karua and Omtata and Onyonka. You see? We can track, and they should come together also and form something good, since their purposes seem to align. We will be the ones to tell them who to include there and who not to include there, because they have track records. There are track records for everybody in the country. We can always follow that track record to where it began until now. Okay? And if they happen to fuck us up, we will still do them what we are going to do with the current government on Nane Nane. The power remains with us. Okay, guys, about Nane Nane. If the guys who are killed mercilessly by even snipers, seriously snipers, during protests are watching from high heavens and we do not come out to finish what we started with them, we might as well have killed them ourselves. Okay? And to the current university students, if you do not come out in support of justice and accountability, mkimaliza shule pia nyinyi mkose kazi na mwanze kulia, sasa hiyo itakuwa shida yenu. So guys, make this reach every university student out there. University students, mtamaliza, sisi tulimaliza. We have been out here, we've been suffering. This is not our fight peke yetu. This is for you. And if we do not accomplish what we intend to accomplish, mtatoka.
Samahani.
Graduate.
I think you're dropping off. I think you're
mnafaa kutokea. Yeah?
You're dropping off. Endelea.
Okay. Alafu still on the Nane Nane subject. Mimi sitaki kuona mtu akikufa Nane Nane. So guys, if you are coming to demonstrations, if you are going to demonstrations, be vigilant. Ukisikia risasi, shuka ukae mahali uko. These people, some of them are animals. So if a bullet is fired, and please pass this to the other people. If a bullet is fired na umesikia risasi, shuka mahali uko, kaa chini. Makara wakicharge na mko wengi, kaeni chini nyi wote, because when you start running, they shoot your backs, and that is how we lost Rex. May God rest his soul in peace. When they charge you, kujeni, kama unaenda maandamano, kuja na rafiki ama marafiki 10, it is enough if all of you mnashuka mnakaa chini mkisikia risasi. It is also our obligation to prove to our parents that we do not intend to ban this country. So we must be peaceful. We must prove to our parents, ndio watakuwa naona hizi vitu zote kwa TV, that alafu this is the propaganda that the government is feeding our parents and our grandparents at uko ushago, that we want to ban this country. I do not want to ban this country, and I've been to all the demonstrations. And I do not think any Gen Z wants to ban this country. So it is our obligation to prove to our parents that we do not want to ban this country. And how can we do that? Let's remain peaceful. So ukiona msee anaiba ama anarushia askari mawe, piga firimbi, shikeni yeye, peleka yeye kwa hao askari. Let's be civilized also if we want everybody to join our movement. Okay. And it is true that Mother Karua and alike should join the movement, but it is our movement. And we can all, and if we can all agree that we want them on board, then they should come. Let's be logical. They are the best persons who can lead us. You can drop names if you want, but the track records are there. The track records are there. If you sieve through the rumors and the accusations and the false accusations, you can always find a clean, good record of all these people who want to become our leaders. So if we want people to become our leaders after this, we can always choose. After all, we the people can always take the power back, because the power belongs to the people. So thank you, Rabia. That's all.
Okay, shukran the other guy kwa maoni yako. Naona hujauliza swali kwa Mama Martha bado, lakini maybe tunaweza kusonga mbele. Huku tukisonga mbele tukumbuke kwamba kuna watu wenye wampoteza uhai, na vile tulianza huu space tulianza kusema tunachukua maelekezo au funzo kwa maandamano za Bangladesh, na kumbusho kwamba kwao waliamua kusimama kidete na ile maandamano yao, hawakurudi nyuma tena wala hawakulegeza kamba. Wao walipoteza hata watoto 32 kwenye hayo mradi ya maandamano, walikatiwa internet, yani hakuna mawasiliano, lakini bado walisimama kidete na walisonga mbele. Na huku tukisema ile tuwabeba tukienda maandamano ni bendera na chupa la maji na simu, tuongeze pia snacks, kwa sababu labda itakuwa ni 48 hours. Watu kama ni kukesha wako tayari na chakula zao, na wenye wako na biashara labda wasiwe na hofu kwamba wataibiwa wala chochote, manake kwa vile sisi twajijua, twajiamini ya kwamba sisi hatuna nia ya kwenda kuiba au kufanya uharibifu yoyote. Kwa hivyo pia ni ombi tunaweza kutoa kwa security agencies na friendly forces wakuwe friendly pia kwa sisi, maanake sisi si adui. Ile lengo ni kujenga taifa na kuijenga pamoja. Kwa vile Mama Martha, labda tunaweza kupeana mic kwa dada huyu anaitwa Alicia, alafu tutaenda kwa Esquire. Mtafupisha lakini maoni yenu na ile utatolea Mama Martha ili aweze kujibu inshallah. Alicia alafu kisha Esquire. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to start by a short preamble that says I really don't appreciate, and I'd like to disagree with the people that are saying that we should just leave the past to the past, because that past is influencing what is currently affecting us. These questions were asked but were never answered to the people. So this is a public forum that we are now able to ask, Martha Karua, the questions that some people felt like she never answered. Nane Nane is all about accountability, and it doesn't matter that people are asking for accountability with current issues with the current government or previous government. It has to start somewhere. If any previous leader were here, we would be asking the same questions. Martha Karua is not in government, but she served in a government, so I don't see why it's absurd that we're asking these questions. So I think 2007 is very important for the Nane Nane March, because these are the questions that we should be asking to every single leader. The other thing, now this is a question that I would like to direct to Martha Karua. I really thank you for clarifying everything that you, in your account, that happened in 2007 and how we got there. And you said that both sides bear the responsibility of what happened, and that is very true. I think what people are asking here so vehemently is, why should they trust you now as an alleged voice of the people and part of the movement when you were part of what we considered an oppressive regime? It is very clear right now in this country that people who have held a position in the past, or powerful people, are the people who usually get positions. So it's very likely that after this movement, you might get a position. We want to know, why should we involve you and trust you in this movement? As part of this movement, when you are in government, you've answered most of the questions, and very well. I really think you've answered that, most of them, very well. But I feel like you should answer as to why we should let you be part of this movement, because after all, you really would get a position if you're going to vie. And the questions about 2007, most people feel like they're not answered. Maybe this is not the right time to answer them, but I feel like at some point you should address all those questions, because your ethics do come into question. Like people are saying, Kibaki was sworn in darkness. Yes, in 2007, there was no requirement to wait because there was a vacuum in leadership. Yes, that is very true. But ethically, you should have held back until the voting populace was satisfied to swear in Kibaki. I think that is what led to the conflict. And I think that that's what people are asking now. Ethically and morally, are they able to trust you as a leader? And about Nane Nane, I honestly think, maybe some people would disagree, but this is her country as well. I honestly think she has the right to show up. And if she does show up, it shows a very powerful statement, not just to the people who are there, but to the leadership of this country as well, which might be an illegitimate leadership, but to the leadership as well. I think it shows a very powerful statement that you are not going to support them. The last thing I would like to address here is that I think this is her country. She has a voice. Someone's voice cannot be taken away. She is a Kenyan. She has a constitutional right to speak freely, just as you have a constitutional right to speak freely. We cannot claim to defend this country and its great constitution and pick and choose who has rights if they are a law-abiding citizen. And we've seen that Martha Karua is really a law-abiding citizen who might have been caught up in, some very bad incidents. And I think that the last thing, or this is the very last thing, I'd like to say, I would really like to applaud her for every single step that she has made. She has made changes in her alliances as the facts change. And I think that is a very important thing, even to us, that we should learn from. When the facts change, the opinions should change, your alliances should change. So Martha Karua was not only well within her rights to change her mind, she was also intelligent to do so, and that does not make her a horrible person that she changed sides or alliances. I think that is very something that we should applaud. Thank you.
May I answer this and get on to another appointment? Do I have the host's permission?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
you're
yes, yes.
audible.
We can hear you. You can go ahead. Rabia, nakusikia? Martha, can you hear us?
I can't hear her. I don't think she can hear. But go ahead if you can hear us.
Senior counsel, we can't hear you if you're speaking.
Labda ama mpata simu labda. Mama Martha watupata?
I muted your mic. Please unmute if you're talking to us. Lakini labda amepata simu, atarudi. Endelea.
Okay, wacha tusonge mbele na Esquire. Alicia, thank you so much kwa submission lako.
Okay, thank you so much, Rabia. I think personally I would speak right now because I really wanted to ask Mother Karua a question. Now that she can't hear us and she's not responding, I don't think my question or my input would be very relevant right now.
Okay, ni sawa, unaweza baki kwa speakers list, alafu kisha akirudi unaweza inua mkono, labda ampata simu. Twende kwa KOT Don mwanzo. Karibu kwa mic.
Nasema shukran sana kunipatia hiyo mic kwanza. Nimekuwa hapa for long nikisikia hiyo story from the other guy akiongea. Nimekaa hapa nikisikia that girl Alicia akiongea, and what I can say, I just want to correct the other guy. It's like you are advocating for Martha Karua, right? Martha Karua also has that history. She also has a bad history. So sasa kama yeye ni she's a woman and she's being thrown out of those seats, we should just advocate for her. Okay? So that's what I was saying first. And second, my question wanted to go to Martha Karua. Ile time after we dissolved that CS, there was this tweet that Martha Karua said that we are not boarding. Martha Karua, you said you are not boarding. What is it that you are not boarding? And what's happening that you can't come out and tell us? Juu kama uko na sisi, unafaa kuwa tu unakuja hapa unatuambia yenyewe hiyo shughuli ilipigwa hivi, walisikilizana hivi. Juu naona watu wanarudishwa CS hadi sio watu wanafaa kuwa hapo CS. Unasikia hapa? So you should come out clearly, tell us what happened so that the other guys wakarudishwa kwa those seats and so on and so on. Thank you so much for the mic, Rabia. Thank you.
Shukran. Sijui kama Martha umerudi. Mama ni kama bado hayupo. Western.
Rabia, thanks. I also wanted Mother to hear my submission.
Basi tutamsubiri. Msema kweli labda upo? Msema kweli? Okay, wacha tusonge mbele tena, labda Sigret.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for giving me the space. I also had a question for Mata, but I also want to think that we are losing focus. hii saizi tunafaa kuangalia 8 ikoaje, the people who want to go to the demonstrations, how are we dealing with them? Inakuwa organic na wenye hawatafika watafika aje? Like we need strategies. Martha Karua tuko na yeye na whether we are going to be with her or not should be a question after we've known, after we've captured what we want to achieve, you know? I wanted to understand mimi kama mtu nimesupport Martha kabisa, and she has been talking about my community here and there, my community. What is her role in people from her place playing tribal politics? Anajaribu kufanya nini ndio arekebishe hiyo mambo? Because we've seen, like every other time, they are talking so much about this community here. Anajaribu kuwapea funzo, because right now somebody like me, I'm from the lake, I'm doing all I can to tell my community that, you know what, we cannot be following this man hata kama anatupeleka kwa dustbin, you know? Is she actively doing something like that? Because this is the same people who we hear from history and it's facts that they did, I don't know, some political odds. And I've not seen Martha come out clearly and tell her people, that this is not the right way to do it. Because if we are going to deal with tribal politics in this country, it's about people who have seen the light, going back to their villages and telling people that, you know what, we cannot continue like this, you know? Martha is somebody that I personally respect. I think among the political class, amejaribu kukua very, well, politicians have been very, very dirty, but Martha, I can give her. Of course, the 2007 image, nayo ime stick na sisi. That is something that Martha should know, that it will continue sticking in Kenyans' minds. She should be, if she wants to be truthful, she should be truthful as to say that in 2007, Kibaki did not win elections. That is the truth that she cannot run away from. And she knows. And me, I watched the television when Martha aggressively butchered justice in 2007. And right now, because we are now forgiving and trying to rectify, if she wants to be truthful, she should just come and tell Kenyans that, you know what, I messed up, but the truth is that in 2007, Kibaki did not win elections. That is the truth that Martha should say. That notwithstanding, Martha is somebody that will still have my respect as a Kenyan. I've seen what she has done. But right now, guys, let us focus on Nane Nane. And the people who are, another thing that I wanted to talk about is Kenyans who are giving Raila Odinga platforms. Why are you giving Raila Odinga platforms? Yesterday, he went to Toy Market and people are clapping for him. Why are you clapping for that man? Huh? Why are people standing in Raila Odinga's crowds and still laughing with that man? Mbona hamfukuzi? Huh? Why are you people still entertaining Raila Odinga? That is somebody that should be deplatformed. Huh? Because I'm a hijack movement yetu. He has legitimized a failed regime, and we are now here. Huh? Raila Odinga should not be given space ya kuambia Mkenya kitu yoyote. Anatuudhi sana, and I'm speaking as somebody who has actively hata kwa demonstrations zake mimi nilikuwa naenda. You know, I've supported Raila Odinga all my life since I became a reasonable human being. Huh? But saizi anaudhi, na kama mtu anaudhi tumwambie bro unatuudhi. Let's focus on what we can do to our people. Personally, nimeshachanga pesa yangu, nimetuma pesa mtu mwenye anataka kuenda. Let us see what we can do. Let us give tactics so that Nane Nane should be successful. We should send a very clear message to the political class that we are about as our business, and Kenya is our business right now. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Asante dada, na vile umemsikia kila mtu ajitayarishe, Nane Nane inakaribia, so watu wako ready.
Host, I'm seeking time to respond so that I may leave the space to go to an appointment.
Okay, maybe kabla hujaongea kulikuwa na maswali kutoka watu wawili, tunaweza pata kusikia hizo maswali zote alafu ndio ujibu kabisa. Ni sawa? KOT Don,
Martha, can you hear me?
Afro, go ahead.
Can Martha hear us? No, I don't think Martha can hear us. Weston, please check if Martha can hear you.
Hi, can I be heard? Mother, can you hear me?
Okay.
Well, I can go ahead regardless.
Wait, I think she's not hearing us. Because she's saying she's waiting to be given an opportunity to answer, but she's not responding when we're talking back. Hold on, Weston. I think let me drop her and then add her back again. Or let me first reset the space. Then if it doesn't work, I will drop another back. But Msema, go ahead as we are resetting the space.
So as we look forward to Nane Nane, I think we still have to continue to have a two-pronged strategy. We'd want Ruto must go. He may go the way of the Bangladeshi PM, but also he may go through an election. So whichever way, we have to be prepared for both. One thing we have to remember is there's a lot of good people, good intention, people of integrity in these spaces and in the country. And one thing that we've always known is because we view politicians as dirty people, so a lot of good people do not want to be politicians. The problem is when the people who are good people and people of integrity choose not to participate in politics, then we kind of allow the evil people, like the current crop that we have, a majority of them, to become our rulers. And then we complain that, oh, these people are like this. So why am I saying this? Is a call to everybody, everywhere, from MCA to MP to, it's not too late. Right now, the next scheduled election is in 2027. It may come sooner or change may happen in other ways. But right now, 3 years is not a long time. We need to have everybody, whether it's you who wants to run or someone that you know that needs to run, from every ward. We need to have thousands of people right now in every ward, at least several people going through, talking to voters, educating them, campaigning, running registration drives, all these things. That's the plan B. So if these other things doesn't work, then that one also needs to work so that we can be prepared for elections. Because whichever way, even if Ruto goes today, we'll need elections to figure out what the heck happens next. So we need right now to have people preparing for that. What does that mean? Every one of us needs to be either running or having people who have integrity on the ground running for every seat in the country, from president to MCA to every elected seat. So that is the way we are going to get the civic education we're talking about, because you need soldiers, you need people of integrity. We need not to step aside and say, oh no, that needs to wait. No, we can do both. What is it called? You can you can walk and chew gum at the same time. So meaning we can protest for what is going on right now and at the same time be campaigning on the ground to be able to be preparing for elections and educating people. So for me, I would say anyone that wants to run, whatever it is, hata kuja kwa hii space, sema jina yako nini, how we can support you, details of how we can support you, what your message yako kwa ground. Kama wewe hutaki kuran, let's find people of integrity who are in your circles, let them encourage them, push them, let them be running for every seat so that when this next election comes, whether it's quickly or later, that we are prepared. Santeni.
Okay, asante. Mama Martha, watusikiza? Can you hear us? Afro?
Hey, Martha, can you hear me? Martha Karua, can you hear me? I think I have to drop her.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, we are saying before you leave for your next appointment, we have two people who want to drop their questions real quick, and then you'll answer everything and just give us your closing statements. Is that okay?
That's okay.
All right, Weston, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Afrocentric and Rabia and all the people in this forum. Mother, you paid your dues. And Kenyans who are familiar with the history of the country cannot honestly contest that. But the issue is that in the aftermath of the Moi regime, Moism remained in place. Moi, the person, left, but Moism, as in the behavior that Moi used to exhibit, remained in place. And you didn't speak against that. For instance, the question is this. I would wish to know your answer to a remark by a former cabinet minister by the name John Michuki, who said openly that they were not fighting for a new constitution. They were not fighting for a reformed Kenya. They just wanted Moi out. And in that context, he was talking about himself and the people who at that time were referred to as the Mount Kenya Mafia, a tribal cabal surrounding Mwai Kibaki. So they were not interested in reform, in change, in a better Kenya. I wish to know your response to that. Secondly, when there was a task force that was formed, headed by one Professor Makau Mutua, to try and find out the mechanisms to establish Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission. When they submitted that report to Mwai Kibaki, who was the president and you are the justice minister, Mwai Kibaki turned down that task force report and said, no, the bygones are the bygones. There's no need to look into the bygones. It took the 2007-2008 post-election violence for a Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission to be established. And it could have been established before death. What did you do about it? Third, there was something called radical surgery in the judiciary when you were the justice minister. That process was adjudged as nothing more than a witch hunt. Some individuals who appeared before that committee were removed from the judiciary. They went to court, they appealed, they were reinstated because they argued that they had been hounded out on other consideration, could be tribal, be political, other than reforming the judiciary. You are party to that process. And the 2007 debacle matter, we are always told if we have female leaders, they are just more than political actors. They are also considerate people. Well, that's a stereotype. I do contest that, but that is usually thrown around. What sets female leaders apart from male leaders, that they've got a heart, they are empathetic, they care. In the heat of 2007 post-election violence, you stood firm and you defended what was clearly electoral theft, while women, children, and vulnerable people were being killed, displaced, maimed. You have never ever apologized to Kenyans to date. You've never. Recently, 2022, that ticket on which you were with Raila Odinga, it was not in the interest of Kenyans. It was a ticket that was backed by Uhuru Kenyatta, a person who had refused to implement the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission. In fact, he had pressurized some of the commissioners to delete the chapter on land, which had implicated his family. There was a lot of money in that campaign, and Kenyans were asking who was funding that campaign, and they were saying taxpayers' money were being abused. You said nothing because it favored you then. So Kenyans are asking that a person who plays hot and cold like you,
on matters to do social justice, democracy, the rule of law, inclusivity, and a better Kenya, you will play a role of a saboteur, spoiler, vis-a-vis the current debate. In fact, I put it to you, Martha, that William Ruto had to bring Raila Odinga and these other people into his government after you and other people held that Limuru thing, which was tribal. And he felt, no, going forward, I won't get votes from these people. Which people? Referring to the Kikuyu people. That gathering was seen as a Kikuyu gathering. And it made him to sit up, look, what do I do? Cynically bring on board Raila Odinga. Bring on board the people you campaigned against the other day. Now, these are the questions Kenyans are asking, and they're valid. And nobody should say, no, Mother shouldn't respond to this question, should respond to these questions. Because how many of you people have ever met a sitting president one-on-one? She has. That's how much power she has. She has been a cabinet minister. So when you come here and say, no, you're being unfair to Mother, or you want to speak for Mother, like, do you really understand what you're talking about? Have you ever met a president? Have you ever had a one-on-one with the president? Have you ever served in a government? So on what basis do you want to shut down people and tell them? And we don't focus on William Ruto as an individual. We focus on an establishment, an incestuous, self-reproducing establishment in Kenya. People today, they masquerade as opposition leaders. You wake up tomorrow, they're in government. They're denying the very, very things they said the other day. No, I didn't understand the hustler fund. Now they've explained to me, I now understand it can uplift Kenyans from poverty. Some of the people who are being vetted the other day were saying those things. We can't have political actors behaving like this. And that's why these young people, the youth, the Gen Z, and all Kenyans who are committed to a better Kenya, they will hold everybody to account, including William Ruto, Raila Odinga, Mother Karua, and everybody else. Because these people are powerful. They're not ordinary citizens. Raila Odinga is a cult figure. That's why people don't want to chase him away the way they would chase away Sakaja. But we're saying that's the politics we're fighting against. We don't have holy cows. We only want a Kenya where people are committed to ideals, to values, to the rule of law, to constitutionalism, and not to tribal politics, and not to individuals, and not to say Ruto is bad, Raila is good, or Mother is good, this other person is bad. No, you are good to the extent that your commitment to a better Kenya, to the collective well-being, is unwavering. Mother, I end by telling you that, do you know that we have never recovered from you and your colleagues who formed the government after Moi? One, you continue tribalizing the state and the bureaucracy, and we've never recovered from that. Secondly, the stolen election of 2007, we have never recovered from that. Going forward, anybody who loses elections will always cry that elections were stolen, because we have never sorted out that. Had Kibaki been a one-term president, we would not have any other problem going forward having one-term presidents. But because he refused, it's extremely difficult. Even William Ruto believes he cannot do a one-term because no one who came before him did a one-term. You did not midwife the bombers' deliberations that Moi had sabotaged, which was supposed to birth a new constitution. You did your own things, and we Kenyans were given something called a Wako draft, which was really polarizing. That referendum polarized the country, and it was a dress rehearsal for the 2007 elections, which naturally dissolved into civil war. Mother, do you own up to your contribution to the problems we are facing as a country? We don't crucify you. We're just saying in the spirit of honesty and transparency. We want a new Kenya, and a new Kenya means we own up to our contributions to where the country is, and we say we can begin from a clean slate, but we cannot pretend that we don't understand history. Revolutionaries who have no notion of their history are condemned to repeat the mistakes that were made in the past. We must appreciate history, where we're coming from, and what roles did this candidate, that candidate, this figure, that politician played before we go forward. And therefore, I put it to you as I end. Mother coming here is important, is imperative. And we asking Mother these questions and raising these issues is completely imperative, is part of national healing. is part of having a candid conversation that we don't have. We usually don't have in Kenya. We are for consensus. We are very scared when we differ ideologically. We're very scared. So, Mother, please, if you could just respond to those questions, because I see you as part of the oligarchy in Kenya and part of the problem. You can convince me otherwise. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mumbi, please make your question short, and then Martha will, Senior Counsel will answer, and then we can let her go to her previous engagements. Go ahead, Mumbi.
Okay, thank you so much, Afrocentric and co-host, our speakers and our listeners. I just had to shorten my question. Western has said a lot, but my question will be just a general one to Senior Counsel. Having served on the government side for about 15 years, you have significant insight in our country's governance. What is your perspective on why we draft, because coming from where we're from, we draft something like our finance bill in a place like Washington? Is it because we lack the expertise, or is there a deeper issue related to our colonial history that you could shed light on? And then, additionally, let me take a little bit of a spiritual perspective. You know, considering that our foundations were laid by early British colonizers like Kina Sir Balin, Kina Evelyn Balin. Do you believe that this foundation really influenced the belief that we are battling right now against these principalities and powers? Because up to right now, we see them putting their foundation till date. And you've been in the government. So me asking you, I feel like you could shed more light on this, because we see till date, they're still putting this foundation. An example is that they have really put a big and tall foundation at the roundabout of railway station, what we call and what we term as obelisk. What is your take on such things? I said I'm going to take a spiritual turn because as we are winding up, and from your own capacity and understanding, how do we truly emancipate ourselves from these ties to truly becoming independent and free from reliance on these IMF and World Bank? Thank you so much.
I hope you guys can hear me. Am I audible? I hope I'm audible. Thank you for your question. I also want to add on, just before she begins to answer, I want to paint a picture before I ask my question, because Martha Karua has had a career as a politician and a legislator for some time, and her having served as both Minister for Water Management and Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs in the Mwai Kibaki administration. In the 1990s, back then, towards 2000, she was a prominent member of the opposition political movements that successfully agitated for multipartyism, that led to the ouster of the KANU regime in 2002, if I'm not wrong. And in 2008, after the disputed 2007 general elections, that elections resulted to a widespread of violence across the country. And she led a team that literally negotiated power. And you guys can remember so well when we had the back then chairman of the AU, if I'm Kofi Annan, that came to Kenya to constitute the handshake, and I think that was probably the first time we heard of handshakes and so on. And you also led a team that negotiated that power sharing agreement between the opposition leader back then, Raila Odinga, Orange Democratic Movement, and now 14 years later, rather 15 or so years later, Raila would go back and pick you as his running mate in the 2022 general elections. So, which was Ruto and his peoples were declared the winners of the elections. Now, my question is, what was, and we saw what happened during the post-election violence, people being banned left, right, and center, people killing each other left, right, and all that. But now this movement has really stood up to, shun all leaders, because we've just learned that sometimes all leaders are all the same. So what will be the difference between whatever is happening right now with the anti-finance bill tax protest, and back then where we had people killing each other because of election disputes, and it had to take lives to be lost for you guys to initiate a handshake? And why the handshake? Why would we just say no, this election was wrong, and we are not agreeing to this? If we agree to this, we need to follow the constitution. The elections were disputed because people were not satisfied. Why initiate that handshake? And why now did we take time? Because this thing was not about Raila. The anti-finance bill was not about Raila. And you leaders just sat on the fence and did not say anything to say that, hey, this is not the way it's supposed to be. And now moving forward, that was my first question. And my second question probably could be, why are we sitting on the fence while seeing the government butchering the constitution? Why are we not speaking out? Is it because we only speak out when we have something to benefit as politicians, or we only speak out, we only don't speak out because we are not going to benefit anything? So my last question is, now the protests that have halted the government and has agreed to talks with Raila Molo Odinga, which for us it was a surprise. This was not about Raila. We told Baba to go back to Bondo and relax after he lost his bid with the international seat that he was looking for. We just wanted no talks. We wanted to do this our way. Why is it that politicians are trying to interfere with the protest that we are holding? We don't want talks with the government, but other politicians are like, no, we need to have talks with the government. What do you have to say about that from where you sit? Those are my only questions. Thank you.
Afro, can you allow me to ask a question based on, because all the people who have asked questions have asked about the past.
Please, 30 seconds. We want to release Martha Karua and we get back on topic.
I want to ask a question that is directly impacting on our future. Whereby, my question is, what do you think, Martha, what do you think is the direct target of people like Imani Ichung'wah and the current government when they introduce the seed law, the Livestock Act, whereby they are selling they are taking loans on the fertile lands in the country? What impact will it have on our food security, our sovereignty, our independence, all these things? How will they impact our future if we lose our freehold titles, if the Livestock 2024 Act is enacted, if the seed law comes into play and we can no longer share seeds? How does this directly impact our sovereignty and our food security in the future?
Senior Counsel, are you there? Okay.
Yes, I will answer very briefly because there are questions I didn't put down. The two where a caller, therefore I can't remember the name because I didn't put down, was saying that Raila won and I should just apologize. I want to tell her that I differ completely. And I would refer everyone once again to what I said before and to the Kriegler report, an unbiased report, which is a public document and is online. I do not know what better evidence she has. As a participant, I believe I also know the details of what went on. And even with the exaggeration on both sides, I genuinely believe Kibaki won. Online again, look for a Professor Troop from the US who did an analysis, and his analysis led to the belief that even with vote exaggeration, if you remove the exaggeration from both sides, Kibaki won. That's neither here nor there, because Kriegler says it's useless to ask who won. I can only apologize for the loss of life, for injured feelings, but not for anything I did. I did not do anything that I shouldn't have done at all. Representing Kibaki doesn't make me a criminal. An agent is an agent, and every candidate is entitled. And that's why I asked, how is it that I am wrong for being Kibaki's agent, but my counterpart Orengo is not wrong for being Raila's agent? That's a very biased way of looking at it. I'm sorry, there we have to differ. The other question I have been asked, I want to actually correct. I have not been in government for 15 years. I've been in parliament for total of 20 years. 6.5 of those, I was a minister. 3 of them Minister of Water, 3.5 Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. So I've been more on the opposition benches than government. Those who want to know about me, check my tenure in water, see what I did rolling out the water sector reforms. On the constitution, I can just have bragging rights to say it is under my watch, within that 1 year of the coalition government, that we put in a law that helped to complete the constitution. And I did work as a backbencher to stop the mutilation of the draft before it was passed. In fact, Bandi now, who is been nominated CS Treasury, was one of my foot soldiers in making sure that we stop any amendment to the draft agreed on in Naivasha. So I would like to say I've been asked why our laws are written, our Finance Act is written in Washington. If you become a slave of the World Bank and IMF, that's where it will be written, because they'll bring for you a document which you must pass before they disburse money. The Kibaki government was 97% in the first term, 93% self-funded. Only 7% came from multilateral partners, not World Bank, not IMF. His second term was different. He borrowed from China, he borrowed from other places, but he was never, the Kibaki era was never a slave to the World Bank. The World Bank is here to make sure we never develop, we are never on our feet. It listens to America. It's driven by the big powers. And I do think that if we spend our money prudently, because finance is not rocket science, it's more of common sense. What do you do when you have less funds? You align your priorities and begin with them. You do not apply money on luxuries when you have priorities. What the regime is doing right now is applying money to sustain luxurious life and to continue encouraging theft of our money by a small group, ignoring essential services for the people. So the accountability this movement is seeking for is the answer. And there cannot be accountability without enforcement. It has to be made very expensive for anybody to go against the law. But we as Kenyans have a very big role to play. Like I said before, we man all the critical institutions. We are the ones who have bastardized through parliament, the vetting process, through EACC, the accountability process, through prosecution, and part of the courts, because the High Court has distinguished itself, and now sections of the Court of Appeal, but largely the courts, the justice system, and the courts are complicit. How did Raila pick me as his running mate? First of all, I say those who question 207, do you in your heart of hearts believe that if Raila believed I had helped steal his vote, he would have chosen me as a running mate, as a human being. Those of us who were involved know the truth. That is why we were able to work together. I didn't go to the Azimio camp because it was holy. I said quite frankly that both sides had baggage, but I could at least identify a few allies on the Azimio side with whom we would be able to push back those within Azimio bent on the old ways. I went to Azimio because one of the two sides was going to govern, and I was better off on the side that I thought would end up benefiting the people. And I always say I salute Raila because when picking me, he knows that I'm a person who will differ with him on certain matters. But he was bold enough to do that. Although today now he has disappointed me and us by going to the government side. The last thing that I was asked to answer, if you give me a moment, my whatever has closed because I need to answer it. Oh my, I'm not getting my notes. There's one last thing you asked. I have gotten it. The very last thing by Farah is why about the Agriculture Act, which is criminalizing farming and our seeds. This is going to turn us into slaves, worse than colonial times, and into food beggars. And you know, when we are food beggars, it means we have become somebody's robot. The Ruto government is a puppet of the West. The West want to stop us from using our seeds. They have an agenda of taking up the arable land, farming it themselves. When we plant GMO, our soils are soon going to be unable to grow indigenous seeds. That makes us dependent on seeds from the multinationals, which we can ill afford. This accountability that the movement is seeking is so crucial to our lives. Everything is going. Our minerals have gone. We've got to stop it. Our services have gone. You can see even the airport being taken. The last bastion, our farming, our agriculture, which is a mainstay, is what is going. No wonder Bill Gates came immediately, Ruto was inaugurated, to talk about GMOs. We have been sold, and now we are being sold as slaves. So it is very crucial that Kenyans push back. And it is crucial that everybody, we don't now just leave it to the Gen Zs, but we show up in support. Those who are asking whether, as a politician, I only talk when it is convenient, please follow closely any social space I am in. Myself, my party, we have been consistent in standing up for what is right, standing up for human rights even during this period, and standing up for anything wrong, pushing back the government for what is wrong. In 2023 as Azimio, in this year as ourselves, because we gradually became disenchanted with Azimio last year, even though we've only pulled out this time. So check and you will see who one is truly is. I want to thank you and to seek leave to withdraw to attend to other matters. It's been a pleasure.
Before you leave,
Honor. Yeah.
just a question before you leave.
Yeah.
The other day you tweeted a tweet saying that you are not boarding after the CS were shuffled. You say that you are not boarding. There's a tweet. You are sitting on the table, you and the other ODM members. So what is it that you are not boarding?
Not ODM. Azimio.
So right now you are not in Azimio.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
We are in the process of withdrawing, but we do not issue joint statements, not even with Akina Kalonzo. We are now playing as NAC Kenya. They are not our enemies. Those who are against joining government are indeed our colleagues, but we are taking time to grow our party, individual parties, which was our agreement in January this year. But we definitely are not boarding on anything that works against the people.
Thank you so much, Martha Karua, for gracing this space with your presence and for the knowledge share. We have learned a lot. Personally, I've learned a lot of clarification of events that have happened in our history, 2007, a lot of things we saw on the news, but you had you are there in person and you participated in person. It's good to hear it from your mouth as explained by you. Thank you for adding your voice to the movement. We have been having leaders come into these spaces and listen to us, and we're paying attention to those who are listening to us and to those who are hearing our concerns and are also giving us your advice in the same way. But thank you so much from the other speakers, and you can leave at your convenience, but we'll continue the space. We get back on track. It is really good sometimes when the Iron Lady is here. We have to understand that in some issues we have to, it's like eating a fish. You have to eat the meat and spit out the bones. There are some things she did we are not happy with, but there's a lot of things she has done which we have to accept. We have to accept this is good. We can't take it away from her. That's what she has done. She's a woman of principle. That we can give it to her. Akisema ni hivi, ni hivi. And she will resign in your face. And she's a Kenyan and she has a constitutional responsibility. We cannot deny. We cannot be saying we want constitutionalism and then we deny other Kenyans from exercising their constitutional rights. So the sword cuts both ways, and we have to listen to each other. At the end of the day, as much as we disagree, we have to listen to each other and we chart the way forward. Guys, the march is on. Nane. We're moving forward. We are gaining steam, and I'm telling you, hata hii conversation imetutoa kidogo kwenye the path, because hii mlima ya Ruto must go is the tuna discuss hapa future leadership movement. No one will want to own this movement if we do not succeed. So this is the next 48 hours is critical, the most important 48 hours of our lives as Kenyans. We know this thing has grown, it has taken off X, it has taken a life of its own. Hata sahi tukikuja kwa space sema hii hatuendi tutashanga. This word has spread all over Kenya, thanks to you passing that voice from your neighbors to your family members to everyone. And now we just want to hear from people who are coming from outside the city. I hear there are buses rolling in, some people planning buses. I've been getting some messages in the comment section and also in my DMs. We want to plan that effectively. KOT is here. He's also overseeing a lot of logistics. He's going to share also a little bit about what's going on. Guys, Nane is on. Nane is on. Farah, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Sawa bro, shukran. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sawa. Bro, the sababu ya kumuuliza Martha the question on the seeds and the livestock bill and everything is because a lot of us are focused on our past, what happened juzi jana. Hawa watu wanataka kutuibia our future pia, whereby we are turned into slaves. Our country right now, majority of the conservancies are registered by a UAE company for carbon credits. For instance, Shompole Conservancy, which is past Magadi, on the other side is Masai Mara. All of it is registered under UAE company. Do you understand what this means? This means we cannot industrialize. and it's because the people who already exhausted their own who are polluting the environment for a period of